Guys, here's the next portion of our notes, and it's going to be about fossils. If you would, go ahead and turn your book to page 111, and I would like for you to read page 111 and 112, and then you may resume the video. Go ahead and get started. All right, so on page 112, you read about the three different types of original remains here. So, I'm going to put this in blue. All right, so ice is the best preserver. I don't know if I can spell today, best preserver, and it's going to prevent decay the best. Few examples here for you. We have the mammoth bodies, as well as like prehistoric rhinos. Now, amber is something that a lot of you should, again, be familiar with because of insects. But let's go ahead and write this down. It forms from resin, which is a sticky substance inside trees that flows like syrup and protects the tree by trapping insects. It should contain remains of insects and other small organisms. And a few examples would be like flies and mosquitoes. I'm just gonna increase my font size here so you guys can see it a little better. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, tar. Tar is a thick, why aren't you being blue? Is a thick, oily liquid. And it will also prevent decay. Some examples would be like a saber-toothed cat. All right. What I want you to do is go ahead and read page 113, and then you may resume the video. Go ahead. All right, hopefully we are back now. Let's go ahead and fill out, you have 3 questions. Mine got shifted, so I apologize about that. The 3 questions at the bottom about fossil formation. Double checking here. What kind of conditions are needed? Must be preserved before it decomposes or disappears. What kind of body does an organism need in order to leave a fossil? Okay, anytime we want hard bodies, not soft bodies. Soft bodies are normally going to decay. So we want to have hard body parts. Examples would be like shells, teeth, bones, stems, tree trunks. Because soft bodies will usually decay, and they use the example of like mushrooms or slugs. Okay, let's go on to our next question. We have, what kind of rock are they usually found in? You guys already know this from last learning goal. We know they are found in sedimentary rocks because sediments build around animal/plant remains, leaving us with fossils. And it talked about in the book, if you want to include this in your notes, that metamorphic, when it has all that heat and pressure, anytime that it goes from sedimentary rocks to metamorphic, all that heat and pressure normally goes ahead and destroys all of the fossils. And igneous rocks most certainly cannot have fossils because when your molten rock go ahead and cools, it's going to destroy anything that was left behind. So go ahead and I want you to read page 114 and then also look at page 115 because that goes along with 114. So go ahead and look over those 2 pages and then resume your video. Thanks. All right, you're back. Let's go ahead and fill out this next chart. Now, here I have quite a few lengthy words in sentences. So bear with me. Mold is a visible shape that was left after an animal or plant was buried in sediment and then decayed away. Can I read my handwriting for a second? And then also we have cast fossils, which is a solid model in the shape of an organism, which would be 3D. Okay, let's just make all of this blue really quick and bump it up to size 14 fonts for all of my students who can't see that well. All right, an example. They showed the beautiful example of a seashell. Petrified wood, which I personally think looks really stinking awesome. But a fallen tree that is covered with sediments. Over time, water passes through the tree, producing a stone-like tree. And we have a stone fossil of a tree. Isn't that picture in your book just so gorgeous? I think it's beautiful. I don't know. Something about it. A lot of you are going to be asking me questions about petrified wood. I just know it. Tends to be something that you guys really like to talk about. Okay, carbon film. It shows details of soft parts, animals and plants that are rarely seen in other fossils. So an example for this one would be a carbon film of a moth. And last but not least, trace fossils, evidence of an animal's presence in a given location. A few examples that we're going to list here are footprints, trails, animal holes. I don't know why I can't think today. And feces. And with trace fossils, they're going to give a scientist more information about a specific animal depending on how they walk or run, based upon how they're indented. No different than if you watch crime shows, they can tell if a person walks with like a limp or if they were running or walking. Same type of situation, except with trace fossils, they're going to be buried down a little bit more, opposed to a shoe print, which is obviously just left on the surface, but it does give scientists more information about an animal during a certain time period. Okay, next thing, I want you to read the rest, page 116 and 117, and then you can resume the video. All right. So let's go ahead and answer these last two questions about tree rings. What does the thickness tell you? It should tell you the weather patterns, patterns. There we go. How dry or wet a year was. So the really, really thick rings are going to tell you that it had a lot of moisture and the tree grew quite significantly. Versus the very, very thin rings, it was pretty dry and not as much moisture in the air. So I can guarantee you that there will be a question about tree rings as well as ice cores. So make sure you study this section. And a lot of you know that if you look inside of a tree and you count the number of rings from the middle to the outside, that tells you how old a tree is. So take that into consideration as well. The thicker, the more moisture and rainfall the area got, and the thinner, the less rainfall and moisture that it got. Hang on just a second. Okay, sorry, Ms. Weidman had stepped in for just a moment. So really quick, the last thing that we have are ice cores. For ice cores, it shows how the atmosphere has changed, how the temperature has changed, and when volcanic activity occurred. So, wow, I can't spell. Whew. Occurred. The R is important. Occurred. What did I do wrong here? Occurred. Two R's. Whew. Okay. Now, anyways, that should wrap up notes for today. And tomorrow we will just dive in a little bit deeper and I will expand on today's lesson. All right. Thanks, guys. Don't forget your projects are due on Friday at 2:30. Have a good day.